So good morning everybody. I'm starting the second set of lecture on perfectly competitive behavior, and here I will focus on the long run perfectly competitive market situation and its equilibrium, etc. But before going to that, I should remind you what we have learned in the last class. So last class we have done a lot on market structure of different firm, and especially focused on the perfectly competitive behavior, and in the short run how equilibrium of a firm and also the industry will reach, and what should be the shutdown situation and short run supply curve, etc. had already explained before you. And now I start from here where we leave, and for the first set here I want to remind you about the short-term supply curve, which is very important to go forward. And here this is the short-term loss situation, and this is the short-run market supply curve. So yellow part of the MC curve, which is above the minimum point of ABC, is the short-run supply curve. Yellow part of the MC curve, which is above the minimum point of ABC, is the short-run supply curve of the firm. And before going that, before the minimum point of ABC, we have no supply, and the minimum point of ABC ensures the price which is minimum required for the firm to capture its variable cost, and firm can survive to supply something. So this is the supply curve short run. And now what is short run supply curve? Here price of the product and input can change, and we can show an increase in marginal cost, and the change in the firm's output decision will give the short-run supply curve. Now, the second part is the response of the firm in change in input price. If input price changes anyhow, say it labor price increases or decreases, whatever, then how it impact on supply curve. So this is, say, suppose the supply curve of the firm which interact with the market price in order to give profit as a equilibrium condition in the short run, and if anyhow price of the input changes, then say labor price increases, then MC curve shifts up from MC1 to MC2, and hence with the same price, what will happen? Firm will now produce less amount of output from Q1 to Q2. It reduces output. So with increase in input prices, or if the firm has to incur anyhow higher cost, then what will happen? The production will decreases if the market price will remain same. And here the savings of the firm reduces with reducing output. Now, what we want to do? We can have the market supply curve from firm supply curve. Here, we have taken only 3 short-term firm, and MC1, MC2, MC3 are that part of the MC curve for farm 1, farm 2 and farm 3 respectively in the perfectly competitive market, and those are the supply curve that is part of increasing part of MC above the minimum point of ABC. With respect to the changing situation, each and every farm follow different prices, minimum prices or minimum ABC with respect to the production condition. And here these three farms are separate with that respect. Again, if we want to have the market supply curve, short-term market supply curve of the industry, then what will happen? We have to summing up all the farms existing in the industry, and here MC1 is short-term supply curve of farm 1, MC2 is the short-term supply curve of farm 2, and MC3 is the short-term supply curve of farm 4. And if we add them up horizontally, then what will happen? The wing line 1 is the horizontal sum of the all existing short-term supply curve of farms, and hence we have the market supply curve. Here this part is come up from MC2, MC3 or the supply curve of the farm 3 whose minimum point starts from P1, and MC1 and MC2 or supply curve of farm 1, farm 2 start from P2. So here there is a breakpoint, and after that we have 3, we add it up horizontally and we get the market supply curve. So one thing I should mention here, the market farm supply curve is more elastic compared to the farm industry supply curve. Why that will happen? I'll come it later. What happened? Shorter market supply curve. If as price rises, farm expand their production. Increase in production leads to increase in demand for input and could cause increase in input prices. Increases in input prices causes MC curve to raise. This will lower the farm output choice. Now, what is the elasticity of the market supply curve? We get up to now we get the market supply curve of the farm with the horizontal summation of all farm supply curve. And here the elasticity of the market supply, what is that? This is nothing but percentage change in quantity demand, quantity supply with respect to 1% change in price. So if price changes 1%, then what will happen in the supply amount will be the supply elasticity. And when MC curve increases rapidly, that is, if we have this type of MC curve and this type of MC curve, here MC curve increases rapidly and this is MC curve increases slowly. So if MC curve increases rapidly with respect to change in price, then elasticity is, and if MC curve increases slowly with respect to, then it is relatively elastic. So what will happen? If 4 parts are there, if it's that like that, or if it is like that. So there are 4 types of possibility. One is increases with increase in price, there is no impact on output, though no change in output. With increase in price, fully elastic supply, and with increase in price, less increases but at a lesser rate and increases at a higher rate. So 4 possibilities are there. When MC increases rapidly with increase in output, then elasticity is low. When MC increases slowly, supply is relatively elastic. And though this is that second one. and perfectly elastic. So it's a perfectly elastic means it is the vertical line, and perfectly elastic, this is the horizontal line, and this is a constant. If output increases with increase in price, the marginal cost will not change, so it's a constant. Now second topic within this is the market surplus, producer surplus in the short run. So if we produce something in the short run, what should be the amount of producer surplus? So this is the picture from which we can get the amount of producer surplus in the short run. So here output is Q star, and to produce Q star, firm has to incur the amount of cost, which is nothing but the area under the MC curve. So this is the integration of MC from 0 to Q star. So this is the area which is the cost incurred by the firm, and to produce by selling this amount of 0 Q star, what will be the amount of revenue? Revenue earned is, total revenue is that total area A, B, 0 Q star. So what is the net amount of surplus? Surplus is nothing but the area above the purple color shaded area above the MC curve is the producer surplus in the perfectly competitive setup. So this is the producer surplus. Now the short-term market surplus. Here I should mention one thing more, that there is a difference between producer surplus and profit. You should not get any, you should not have any ambiguity between the two. Producer surplus come up only from the difference between total revenue earned from selling and total cost has to incur for the firm, and this cost should be only the variable cost. So producer surplus is nothing but revenue minus variable cost. But if you want to get the profit, then it should be revenue minus variable cost and minus fixed cost. So in case of producer surplus, we have to focus only on variable cost, and in the profit we also focus more with variable cost and fixed cost over revenue earned. So now if we consider, before the last picture was on producer surplus of the firm, and now we move on to the producer surplus of the market, and that should be like that. Okay, so this is the market demand curve, and this is the market supply curve, which is more elastic compared to the firm supply curve. And the revenue, this is the equilibrium situation, MR equals to MC, and the proper competition, P equals to MR equals to MC, and from this equilibrium, the total revenue earned by the firm is the total area, P into Q, and the cost incurred by the firm, industry, is the total area, and the difference between the two is the purple color area, is the producer surplus earned by the market as a whole in the perfectly competitive setup. Now, output, we have learned a lot on short-run equilibrium, short-run supply curve, short-run surplus, etc., both for market and firm. Now we have to move on long run. So choosing output in the long run is the first objective. So long run is a situation where everything should go on change in favor of production of the firm, and in the short run. One or more inputs are fixed, but in the long run, firm can alter all its inputs. So basic difference is here. In the long run, firm can change its all thing in favor of its production, and here that there should be no time restrictions. I will move on market long run firm equilibrium situation first, and then we will move on market long run equilibrium situation. And here a long run average cost curve and short run long run marginal cost curve is important along with the short run average cost curve and short run marginal cost curve. In the short run analysis, we have used only short run marginal cost curve and short run average cost curve, fixed cost, etc. But in the long run, there is no fixed amount. So total cost is just equals to variable cost. And here in the long run, two things very important. One is long run total cost curve and long run average cost curve along with long run marginal cost curve, and with the set of short run average and marginal cost curve. So this is the short run SSC and the Sem-III. One of the thing out of whole market. If suppose I choose one firm, say ith firm, and the short run MC and SC curve of this ith firm is like that. Now, with respect to that firm, if market price is here, remind it is a market price, P goes to MR, it's market price here, then what will be the situation? Then firm will incur supernormal profit as it is the output level, MR equal to MC, and this is the cost line, this is average cost, total cost, average cost into output, total cost. So this is the amount of profit, net profit, supernormal profit earned by the firm. And so this is the output level. And now, if we introduce here the long run situation with that of short run situation, so you should remind the thing easily from the theory of cost. Long run cost curve is the set of combination of all short run cost curve that are giving the minimum cost for each and every plant size. So plant size, the concept of plant size is very important here. Here, if it is a LSC, the yellow one, U-shaped curve, LSC curve, our long run average cost curve, then for each and every point there is a short run average cost curve. And for a particular plant, suppose like that. To produce a particular output, say Q star. So it is long run, and here one is the short run here. This is short and this is long run. So to produce Q star amount of output, firm definitely choose this short run and say this short run is like SR star. But this is not the only option for the firm to produce that output. Firm can produce using another plant, say this plant, or firm can produce this output with another plant. But you should think that to produce that output, if firm will not produce that short run, it can use another short run, this or anything. But the cost of production in the short run are high compared to that plant size. So this SR star short run plant size is the optimal short run, and this is minimum cost bearing, and so this is the long run cost point also. So long run cost line, average cost line is the combination of set of, or is the saucer of all short-run franchise with different scale of production. So here we choose to produce Q star. Here we are using this plant size. Here it can be produced also using that another plant size like that. So suppose you are here, then what will happen? So if I choose that plant, then to produce Q star, if it is not optimal in the short run, Q star will be the optimal in the short run. So if I choose that plant size and to produce that amount of output Q1, then farm will get the purple shaded area with a long run profit, and by seeing profit, lot of farms will enter into the industry, and that will give the possibility of the entering in the industry, and production increases at a huge level, and this will cause the production will increase Q1 to Q2, and hence there is a possibility of falling price, as demand will not increase so much. With increasing number of farms in the industry, with higher and higher amount of output, production will fall. Price will fall with increasing production. So this is the long run situation, long run choice. So to produce that, farm should choose that amount of that's plant size. Now, if farm will if G this is the long run marginal cost, this is the short run long run average cost, and this is the short run, this is the price line, peak of 3MR. So if this is the optimal choice of the farm, where farm will get long run short run profit by using this plant. Now, if farm use any alternative plant, then there is a possibility of increasing profit, and that has shown here. Here, EFDZ is the possibility of long run profit, which is higher than the short run profit. Now, long run competitive equilibrium. Those are the possibilities. The possibility farm can use any plant size to increase, to trial whether its profit increasing or decreasing by using different plant size, and farm will decide ultimately that plant size which will give the maximum profit, as farmer profit maximizer and industry also. Now the equilibrium. What should be the exact choice of output level in the long run? Those are the mathematical things where we're using whether the farm is increasing profit or decreasing profit. We have already shown here, and we will go to the equilibrium situation of the farm. So this is the industry. This is a perfectly competitive industry where there is supply curve and in the demand curve, and demand supply interaction will give the equilibrium output and equilibrium prices. And for these equilibrium prices, we have any interaction of the farm in increasing or decreasing their profit with the free entry and free exit behavior. So this is the price and output of the industry, and suppose we have a particular farm here in the industry, and with respect to that farm, what will happen if the market price is P1? So this is P, market price, which represents 40, and if it's a equilibrium, then price equals to MC, long run MC, and this is a long run firm, this is long run industry. Now, anyhow, if we think if anyhow supply will increase, why supply will increase? Suppose, come here, if I am here, this should be my equilibrium situation, and firm will earn only normal profit at the minimum point of long run LSE. Remind the fact, here there is a short run AC and short run MC also. So this is a situation where firm is equilibrium and industry is long run, in both in short run and long run, and firm will earn normal profit. But we are not here. Primarily we are here with that price. So this firm will earn super normal profit, and firm will actually produce more and more. So by seeing this profit, as there is free entry and exit, lot of firm enter into the industry, and that will increase the supply of the industry. And if supply increases with given demand, what will happen? Price will fall, because there is the excess supply, and price will fall. And how much price will fall? It will depends on the situation, until the firm will, all the firm in the industry, existing firms and new entrant firm in the industry, will come at the minimum point of LSE. So this will happen in the long run if, suppose at the first point supply only increase that point, and if that I am doing in figure here, I'm start drawing this picture here in order to show the trajectory that has happened between farm and industry. So if the market demand and supply is here, this is the price, and for that price farm here in the long run. So what will happen here? This is the output, so this is the profit earned by the firm. Now, if by seeing this profit, some amount of new firm enter in the industry, so supply increases to some extent, and thereby price will decreases, but not enough, because again there is a output increases but decreases by the firm, and there is also supernormal profit earned by the firm. And this will by seeing this, again more and more firm will come into industry, and that will happen again fall, and what this will continue till the supply increases enough so that price come up to the minimum point of LSE curve. So again this will give what I mean, if in the short run firm is short run equilibrium is, long run equilibrium is here, will turns here instead of that, because this is not the equilibrium, this is the temporary situation in the long run, and firm and industry both are equilibrium at situation where price equals to LSE equals to LMC equals to SSC equals to SMC. What happens? Now, if the situation like that, if we are here, suppose we are here, now the opposite situation we have shown here in the last figure was shown, by seeing the supernormal profit, more and more firm comes in the industry, that will reduces the equilibrium output of the firm and industry both. But here what will happen? Initial equilibrium is here, so each and every firm, if we see here, making loss, because this is the minimum point of LSE and there is no concept of fixed cost. So every farm making loss. By seeing this loss, this amount of loss, by seeing this loss, some of the farm, as free entry and exit possibilities there, so some amount of farm will go out of industry and thereby supply reduces and price will increases. And this amount of increased price will reduce the loss by the farm in the long run, but this is not enough. So again, some of the farms will exit from the industry. So this will continue till we reach here up to P2, where the farm reaches at the minimum point of LSE equals to minimum point of SSE. So those are the farm's equilibrium where initially farm making loss, and the previous one is the situation where initially farm were making profits, supernormal profits, and ultimately will reach at a point where there is minimum point of LSE equals to LMC, that is normal profit. Now, here all the farms in the industry are profit maximizer, and the profit maximizing condition is MR equals to MC, both in short and long, LMC equals to LSE. And no farms has incentive to enter and exit from the industry if we are at the minimum point of LSE. If it is above the minimum point of LSE or minimum and below the minimum point of LSE, then there is a incentive to enter and exit. But if we are at the long run equilibrium, then there is no incentive for the farms to enter and exit from the industry. Market is in equilibrium, QD QS equals to QD, and now economic rent. Here another thing I want to touch upon, what is that economic rent, which is nothing but difference between what farm actually want to get and what is willing to pay. Minimum amount necessary by using these inputs and what farm willing to give to the input. So the difference between the economic rent, I'll see you later what is the economic rent. Now this is the long run situation, and here choosing output in the long run, how farm will choose long run output. So this is example, the one example here. One thing is more important, the last one, although the economic rent has increased, economic profit has become zero. So in the situation, you can have some situation where there is economic profit, but there is no economic profit but economic rent. So what is the zero profit situation? Zero profit situation is here. I have already explained you. If the market price is at the minimum point of LSE, then this is a zero profit situation or normal profit situation. So if price is above the minimum point of LSE, say at price 10, then what will happen? So farm can earn this total amount, and farm has to incur that amount of cost. So difference between the two is the purple line is economic rent. Now all farms in the industry, if it is long run equilibrium, then earn zero profit only. There is no other alternative. Now we can move from long run equilibrium of the farm to long run industry supply curve. Long run industry supply curve. Here in the previous section we have an idea about how can I derive the firm's short-term supply curve, and from this we can have the horizontal summation of all firm with the industry, and we got the short-run supply curve of the firm and industry as a whole. But here, long-run supply curve of industry in the perfect competitive situation depends on some economic scale. Why? Because you have already learned the incentive of the existing firm. If firm either have supernormal profit or losses, the incentive of the existing firms to go out or go in more, exit or entry. So with increase in the number of firms in the industry, there should be a economic of scale. Maybe there should be a economic scale, and this economic scale may be positive or negative. On the basis of economic scale that actually happened in exit or in enter into the industry by other firms, we have segregated the long run supply curve situation of the industry into three parts. One is constant cost industry, whether with increasing number of firm in the industry, with the new entrant in the industry, the firm can maintain the constant cost throughout, or it's an increasing cost, or it's a decreasing cost. So with the new entrant, whether the structure of cost remains same, whether cost increasing or whether cost decreasing. So we can define those as constant cost industry, increasing cost industry, decreasing cost industry. And accordingly we can have the supply curve. So if we have constant cost industry, then what will happen? The industry supply curve will be horizontal. I will show these in figure. Here this is the demand curve and supply, initial demand and supply curve of the industry, and we have corresponding to that we have initial equilibrium situation of the firm here. So here zero profit, economic profit. If there is zero profit or economic profit, no economic profit, only normal profit, then there is no incentive of the firm to go out or go in the industry. And if that will happen, then what will happen? If more and more firm in the industry by chance, then what happen? All the firm, existing firm and new entrant will make loss. And this, by seeing this loss, again some of the firms go out from the business, and ultimately P will remain at P1. So this will shown here. So initial equilibrium of the industry, long run firm here and long run industry is here. So with increase in say demand, if demand increases like that, then normally if demand is not increasing, then there is no incentive for firm and industry to change the equilibrium situation. The situation will remain stagnant. But with the increase in demand, what will happen? Price will increase because there is no change in supply. Price will increase. If price increases, with the new price, each and every existing firm will earn now supernormal profit. This amount will be the supernormal profit. So by seeing the supernormal profit, again some of the firm will enter into the industry, that will enhance the supply, and this enhancement of supply will be at S2. But this is not simple as so, because by seeing this profit, some of the industry some of the firm from outside enter into the industry, and suppose supply increase up to that, so price fall at some extent, and that will again reduces the profit, but again there is amount of positive profit. So again some of the firm will come to the industry, and this will continue till will be at S2 and price will return back to P1. So with new entry in the farm, what will happen? Again, amount of farm, the initial output in the circle Q1. Now with the new situation, new demand, output is Q2. So exactly the amount of demand increases, supply will increase up to that. And for that, how much amount of farm should enter into the industry, that will exist in the industry newly. But over that or below that, there is no possibility of farm, lower number of farm or higher number of farm will exist in the industry. And as there is constant cost, so with the new entry in the farm, in the industry, there is the cost of the farm, cost structure of the farm and industry will not increase or decrease, it will remain constant. And if that is so, the new equilibrium will be at price P1, and it is the initial equilibrium of the industry. This is the second situation of the equilibrium situation of the industry. So if we connect all those equilibrium, we can get the long run supply curve LS, long run supply curve in the constant cost industry, and hence it's a horizontal only. Now if we have constant cost industry, then the new old equilibrium situation is there on P1 and new equilibrium will be also at P1. So there is no change in cost structure in the farm with the new entry on the farm, and long run supply curve will be horizontal LS, which is long run industry supply curve under constant cost industry situation. Now if we move to the increasing cost industry, so this is the initial situation, the initial equilibrium price quantity in the market, and this is the initial equilibrium situation of the farm in the long run, and it is price will be minimum point of the LSC and LMC will pass from minimum point of LSC and LMC. Now, so if again anyhow demand increases, the process is like the same with the constant cost industry. The only difference is that with the entry of new farm in the industry, the cost of the farm will reduce. We can have some example, though there is no perfectly competitive situation in the actual market, but suppose you can think a situation, suppose there is a big field, there is a big field beside the river bank, and up to when the only one big field was there, from the big field farm has to incur all the expenses of making roads and etc. But with the entry in the new farm, this maintenance of this road can be shared by all these farms. So with the increasing number of farms in the industry, production cost partially reduces. So if that is the situation, then this is called decreasing cost industry. So sorry, here I am not in decreasing cost industry, and example given is for the decreasing cost industry. Here is the increasing cost industry. So with the entry on new farm, cost of the production increases. So if that is to happen, then what will happen? With the increase in demand, supply, new farm will, by seeing the profit here, profit amount, by seeing this profit, supernormal profit, new farm enter into industry, and how much amount of farm will enter in the industry? It will depend on whether the new cost situation is where with the increasing number of farm, each and every farm has to incur more cost. So LSC curve shifts upward, will shift upward, and SMC curve will also shift upward. So cost is increasing with the entry of new farm. If that is so, and with the changing situation, if that is so, then what will happen? The new farm, number of new farm that enter into the industry will be very few, because the amount of profit again is not enough to attract more and more farm from outside. So very few number of farm will enter into the industry, and this will be just like that up to S2, supply will be S2 with the new entry in the farm, and the new price is P3. With that P3, the new cost structure will show the minimum point of LSE2 equals to P3. So minimum value of LSE is equals to P3. So with the this is the increasing cost industry, with the new situation, cost each and every farm will have to incur more and more cost, and that's why the number of farm enter into the industry will be very few, and equilibrium situation, new equilibrium situation will be at D1, D2 and S2. So if we want to get the equilibrium situation long run, this is the initial long run situation, this is temporary long run equilibrium, and this is the again another particular long run equilibrium situation. So this initial and this is second one. If we go further with more, and if we connect all those equilibrium, and we get SL curve, which is upward rising, and the reason behind the upward rising is that cost is increasing. So what will happen with the increasing cost? The long run supply industry supply curve is upward sloping. And next one, decreasing cost industry, which I have already explained you with an example. Now this is the equilibrium situation, initial situation of the pharma industry. So this is the initial industry equilibrium point. Now, as it is the decreasing cost industry, with the increasing situation, cost, demand increases, cost of the farm decreasing. Cost of the farm, both LSE and LMC shifts down, SM2 shifts down. So what will happen? Each and every farm will now get more and more profit. By seeing the profit, more farm enter the industry, and how many farm will enter into the industry depends on how much cost is falling and how much demand is increasing. So for both reasons, for the falling cost and with increasing demand, huge number of farm enter into the industry, and ultimately this is a temporary equilibrium, and ultimately equilibrium will be there with S2 and D2, and initial equilibrium this is S1 D1, and second equilibrium is D2 S2. If we connect all those points, then we can have downward sloping long run industry supply curve SL, which is black line. So this is decreasing cost industry, and the downward sloping black line is nothing but the long run supply curve under decreasing cost situation. Now one or two things more, I'll stop, but one or two things I will explain before you. What is the impact of tax? It may be in the short run, it may be in the long run. If tax imposed by the government on a farm or industry in a specific form, it is in a tax form, then what will be the impact on price and output? Suppose we have initial ABC and MC is there. Suppose price was P1, so each and every farm are earning supernormal profit. Now tax is imposed at amount T. So what will happen? By the if government impose by tax amount T, what will happen? By the amount of tea, MC cup shifts up by the amount of tea, and that will cause reduce of output by the firm. If price is at P1. Otherwise, if firm can shift the entire tax to the firm, to the supplier, to demander, then what will happen? Firm will continue the same output as previous. But this is not possible because I have already shown previously the supply elasticity and demand elasticity are very important here to get whether firm can shift all the tax burden to the buyer or not. Normally, if the demand supply is normal shaped, upward sloping and downward sloping, then whole burden of tax cannot be shifted by the firm to the consumer or seller, demander. Then what will happen? Some amount of tax burden shifted to the buyer and some amount incurred by the firm himself or herself. That's why price quantity will not reduce in the industry. So by that amount of tax, and price will also not increase by that amount of tax. Okay, thank you.